America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there's one item for the agenda, and it'll be under the personnel. It can be a closed session. Is there any other additions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So,
I have a motion and we need a second.
second.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And the meeting minutes were sent out. There's one on the 20th and one on the 30th. We'll approve them separately.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion for the 5:20 meeting minutes.
We have a motion, we get a second?
Second.
Motion and second for the May 20th meeting. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And now for the May 30th.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, for the May 30th meeting minute.
I have a motion, we need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The warrants were sent out.
Ken asked me before the meeting started about the arch key bill, and that's kind of a budget committee update. So that bill will be coming out of monies collected to make the building payment. What US Bank did was they closed the construction account and they put that money into a separate account so that we can't pay construction bills out of it. But they're gonna take the bond payment out of that amount of money until it's gone. So rather than having them go back through all the paperwork of putting it back into the construction account, what money we have, we'll just keep for the first bond payment, we'll just keep and pay those bills rather than going through all that paperwork. That what the building committee agreed, or the budget committee agreed to, Bill?
Yep.
So that, and why Arch Key sent the bill now and not 9 months ago, I can't answer that, but that's why that came here rather than through the bond proceeds like the rest of the building.
Does anyone know an M&R sign what a thin directional anchor for $3,814 would be? Bill, would you know that?
No, that wasn't brought in front of me. It could be that, those panels that they're gonna anchor on County Road 10, but I do not know that.
Well, it tells what's here and there.
Well, they've got that, Bolton and Minks put bills in for, you know what I mean, for this Cossack or whatever you wanna call it, kiosk or. Let me get back to the bills here.
I'm sure it's interpretive panels is what it's listed as, yeah,
Yes. I think that's the anchors for them.
I have no idea what it would be otherwise, yeah, I don't know.
Well, they're gonna have to concrete something, so I would guess that would be it.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything to me about it. Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to pay the bills.
Okay, we have a motion to pay the bills. Give a second.
Second.
Any more discussion on any of the bills? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Horizon Public Health.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Peterson. I'm with Horizon Public Health. For those of you that might not know, Horizon Public Health is responsible for processing all tobacco retailer applications in Grant County. And so you'll find in your packet an application for a change in ownership that we recently had at 117 Main Street in Ashby. And so we did receive an application from Ashby Market and Meats to sell tobacco products, and our office has reviewed this application for completeness and also has processed the appropriate payment. The retailer does meet all of the requirements in the Grant County Tobacco Ordinance. And so I'm here today to get approval to move forward to issue a tobacco retailer license to Ashby Market and Meats.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
A motion, a second to approve this for Ashby Market and Meats tobacco license. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Question for you, Jessica. So the lady now, she asked me, will she be able to sell, put them back on the shelf today?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. It will take us a little bit of time, just a couple of days to get signatures from our administrator and then get this in the mail to them, but we will give a call to them and let them know they can sell immediately.
Okay,
So, yep,
I'll
thank you very
leave that
much.
up to you then, but she asked me that, so.
Okay, I'll give her a call.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Jessica.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Nina, do you want to go over some of this, on the bottom? Board committee update?
Sure. So, in my training, I've looked through those board committee appointments, for all the different committees. And, I see that some of the terms on those committees are coming up in 2025, so I'm just looking for direction from the board, on the appropriate way to, fill those positions when terms are up. Not to say that somebody already serving on a board, they can, reapply, but I know, I just wasn't clear exactly on the way the board wants that to be handled. I know in past, some of the committees have advertised, for the area they're looking for representation to make sure it's available to all the public of Grant County who would like to sit on boards. And I just wanted to get direction from the board, how you would like that to happen for all the committees, so there's consistency. So I can make sure that I'm doing my job and getting those, notices out to the public, but I wanted to make sure that was the direction, and if not, what direction would the board like me to take to make sure all those board committee positions, are full, and that the public is aware when there's an opening, when the term is up.
So Tina, you're talking where the general public is sitting on the committee, right?
So like the planning and zoning,
Yeah.
planning commission, the board of adjustment, the document that comes out in January that lists all the board committees and who's on it, there's term limits on that. Listed on there, and when I was looking through, there was a couple committees that had term limits that were up in 2025. And so I just, wanted to get organized and get on my calendar exactly how the board wants that addressed, so we make sure that we, not having any lapse of times, if there's somebody who has a term and it ends in 2025, that they know that they have the option to reapply it. I don't know if that's the correct terminology or not, but how does that work to keep those boards full and operating?
Wasn't it, am I totally wrong, or weren't these committees kind of at the pleasure of the chair and approved by the board?
Not these committees, we're talking like the planning and zoning committee where we have the representation from not us.
So not these committees, at
Not
least not.
these.
No,
Oh,
no,
sorry about that.
yeah.
No, I think there should be an application period where, let's say that the seat they get set on July 1st, we should go out 3 months and run an application for 2 weeks in the paper. Anyone interested would, let the coordinator know, and we would go from there once we have interest. And we just handle them all the same.
Yes, much like the Board of Sewer Watershed.
Yeah, just, I
Same
mean,
one.
that's an example of one that when their terms are up 3 months out, we
Yeah.
advertise. We've got an opening, if you're interested, contact the coordinator, and then you could work with that governing agency, in that case Boise to Sue, and put together an application, a little more guidance of what it all entails and.
Just
So
a
that somebody,
formality. Right, just a formality.
yeah, but that way somebody doesn't think it's one thing and they get appointed and it's actually something else.
Would you also say that, let's say the planning, and whatever you call it.
Planning and zoning?
Thank you. The chair represents the board. So would you agree that the coordinator should work, in this case with Greg or Reed, because they work very closely with that? And so they're part of that.
Yeah,
process.
it's just the process, not the deciding who's on the committee. It's just how do we want to advertise? So the public is aware that there is an opportunity to serve on a board if they have the interest.
Yeah.
And then for consistency and transparency purposes, to be able to, have a process that's followed for all of those committees.
That'd be a good idea.
And we'd be doing that even for people that wanna reapply, right?
Yes,
They'd have to, I mean, they have no problem getting reappointed. They would just have to tell you that, yeah, I'm interested in the
Yep.
position. Then if you get another one applying, you'd have to sort that out.
and that would lead me to my next question then. If a form is developed that we use with just gathering the general information, if there's more than one, then I bring those to the board. And then the board decides, is that the next step in that process, if that's the process you would like to use?
But yeah, and I think, I know like in the past, like take HRA for instance. Some of the people on there, they have, when their terms are up, if they don't wanna do it again, sometimes they find somebody. If they find somebody that's interested in them.
Which is totally okay, it's
Yeah.
just then we would communicate with all of those the agencies responsible for those committees and just say, hey, can you put their information on the form? And then we have just a file of the board, committees, the members of those board committees, and it's just a formal, just kind of process to make sure it's consistent and transparent across the board. And then it would be advertised just for that awareness piece.
And then what we've talked about is having work sessions. And I think that would be, if we had more than one or two, that would be a good time, a work session to go over. If you had 5 or 6 applicants, that would be a good time to go over them.
Okay. Alright, I will take that forward then. There's not a tremendous amount of board committees, but I'll go back and, make a list of those, and I think there's just 1 or 2 for 2025. So it shouldn't be a big deal for this year, but just moving forward, we'll have that process, and I'll reach out to all the agencies, that work closely with these boards and let them know that this is the direction that the county board would like to go in following this process.
Okay. WCMCA, group cares camp. Ken?
Yes. So, at our last meeting, we heard more about the terrorist camp that's coming up, and I think I maybe dropped the ball on this or made an assumption, but we had heard a presentation from two of the staff members from Community Action a few months ago. And, from what I understand, Douglas County is contributing $5,000, and I think the intent was that we were gonna do the same to help buy building materials. There's about 250-ish. Huge, 100, yeah, there's over 200 kids coming to Ashby. They're gonna host this year, and there's about 49 or 50 things that they have to work on. Most of them are in Grand County. And from what I understand, the leaders that has to do with the group cares camp, they really like what happens in Grand County, and so it's a good deal, and I believe in the past, we have contributed to the process, and it's mostly elderly people or someone that qualifies that needs the repairs. And they do large repairs, and so it's intended, and they do buy all the materials locally, either from when we are here or in Ashby. And so they were seeking our contribution, which I believe we've done in the past, and I guess I thought we'd already approved it, but Missy said, no, we haven't, so. With that, I make a motion that we contribute $5,000 to the group cares camp that's coming up now in a few weeks for building materials.
I'll second that.
Do we have a motion and a second? Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And there's like 250 that are gonna be, they sleep in the school, and
Yeah,
my wife cooking for them.
yeah, it's a good deal. I know they needed like 40-50 ladders that they could donate. It's a huge effort.
So when do they start showing up, or?
It's in July,
Yeah, it's in July.
but, yeah, I might be wrong there, it might be end of June too.
It's soon.
Yeah, so.
Emergency management, Maya?
I don't know if I can fill an extra 6 minutes, but here goes. I'll give you that. I don't know if you guys remember my predecessor, but she started a process of getting some EOP updates taken care of, a bunch of annexes that go through. You should have the digital copy of just kind of a summary of each annex and which entities sign each annex. So for instance, the first one is, notifications and warnings. The sheriff is in charge of majority of those types of things, and that comes from the sheriff's office most often. And so that annex goes through, the sheriff looked at all the ones the sheriff signs. He said, yep, these all look good. And the same with everybody else that's on there. So we sent these out to everyone, talked about changes, very few changes from what Tina had done originally. A couple with Horizon Public Health had a couple of individual position noted, just small changes of maybe that individual position isn't going to be the one that responds to our emergency, but they would appoint somebody else. Those kinds of things were the minor changes that came out of it. So essentially this just finishes that process. On the signature page there, you kind of see the timeline of when those things were updated. And this is just the most current revision of that EOP. So just looking for a finalization of that so that we can move forward and start the tweak process again.
In Annex G, Mr. Chair, family assistance centers and mass care sheltering, what buildings or support centers would you you know, put on the docket here so people could actually respond to that spot if they had to.
So there are a few different designations. I won't list all of them. I know there's, depending on town and disaster and what's working and what's not working. There's some churches, some schools, some fire halls, those types of buildings that have generator backup, would be used for those in those instances. But again, depending on town and availability, that's where those things would come into play. So,
Are the schools part of that too?
the schools have been part of that in the past. So just because of the size of, facility size,
Yeah.
we don't have many options size wise. Well, so, when you start to think about a mass,
Well, you never know.
right, so.
Again, tornadoes, we're not
Right.
akin to any of this weather, it could
No.
happen here.
So yeah, so usually the churches and those are the main starting points.
Right.
And then depending on location and all those things, it would matter which one was opened. If that makes sense.
And you were part of the campground years back, how many times did you use the storm shelter out there that got built?
Every year,
Okay.
every year, so every year somebody went to it, and not necessarily, obviously, we didn't have a tornado through every year, but
No.
every year there was I believe there was a warning and people went to the shelter.
Yeah.
Well, when that got built, it gave me peace of mind,
Yeah,
because
a
that
lot
was
of people out there.
oh boy.
How big is that? Or how much?
The shelter is.
40 by 60, no, 40 by 40?
No, it's longer than that. What is it? 40 by 100?
Is it 100? Would that be?
I think so.
I think it's pretty close. I can't tell you the official dimensions, but, yeah, it got used every single year. Somebody would go into that. So. And a couple years for really good reason and a couple years just for safety's sake. So, yeah,
I'd say anytime somebody went there, it'd be a good reason.
right. Typically, of course, some people with thunder boomer will get them to run and some people,
But at least.
some people sat in their trailer while the tornado flipped the trailer three trailers away from them over. So, it just depends on,
Right.
you never get them all, but
One thing that was interesting, and I was at the elementary school music concert when that weather
Oh.
event come through, and I had the opportunity to watch how they responded, and there was no doubt the school and the people with law enforcement and the students did what they were supposed to, and the public, not so much. I did what I was supposed to, but it was funny how many people just kind of stood, so. But I was really impressed with the preparedness and what happened with the children and the faculty, and that was pretty. And the phone, when they went on, it was,
everybody,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
You knew there was something going on, and
Mhm.
they were prepared.
Right.
So you're saying the drill's out?
I think the drills helped, yeah. Well, it didn't help the public, because they were up to themselves, I guess.
So then it'd just be a signature from you, Mr. Chair, and then I'll sign that, and then that kind of completes that update process.
So you
And
want a motion to approve this, right?
yes, to confirm this, all the annexes. Or,
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, for the EOP approval.
We have a motion, we get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
close.
I'd just like to mention something for those who work at Memorial Day service and then, in Barrett. And as a member of our staff, I, did a really nice job with this message, representing the military and the Memorial Day, program. And so,
Thank you.
we'll be really proud that you're part of our team and did a nice job.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, folks, 321 set the program up, so I don't need an attaboy, I'll give myself one. Okay, so thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I got one thing,
I forgot that, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
I got one thing too. The Ashby Legion wants to thank the highway department for the good job they did on Melby Avenue, patching that with that new equipment that they got. Cause they had 200 people march down to the cemetery and pretty busted up, but they wanted me to let the highway know. I'll let McGrath know. And the port, so they did a good job.
Ashley? Morning.
All right, so we have an upcoming retirement. And we, the personnel committee has met to, with the environmental services, office to revamp the current job descriptions to consolidate the 3 into 2. And so they did that, so we have, and I emailed them all yesterday, I don't know if you had a chance to look at them, but. It'll be the Assistant Environmental Services Administrator and then Environmental Services Director. And so, there wasn't a lot of changes to it, but just kind of shifting some of the tech duties into the assistant duties. The grades do not change, they remain the same. There were some changes to points, but it wasn't enough to change the grades, so the grades will stay the same. And some of the duties will change, and so I'm looking for approval for these 2 job descriptions. And then also another approval to, post internally.
I got a question on the assistant one under the essential work functions, on the 5th item down. It says coordinates and inspects all new and existing septic systems. Is that saying what I think it says, that every septic system will get inspected? When it says all?
Yep.
So eventually they all get inspected?
Yes, at the conduit, yeah. Any new installation requires an inspection.
No, but it says new and existing. So what I'm saying is that all refer to existing?
The ones that are required, not everyone is required.
They're required
There are scenarios where they wouldn't be inspected, but a majority of them will be.
on
A
sale,
property transfer.
on sale.
There you go.
Or if a septic, or if a building site permit is issued, there are triggers that require existing system inspections, yeah.
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's all process has gotta be done before Carl's certified as a sale at the assessor's office, correct?
It's in that process, but it's typically a
Compliance
it's
level.
with the recorder.
They know it is, okay.
Yeah.
So we should do each one of these separate probably.
Yes.
Okay, let's see here.
Doing motion for the,
To approve the job descriptions.
I'll make a motion to approve the assistant environmental services administrator. Job description.
Okay, we have a motion, we get a second,
Can I just clarify? You said Assistant Environmental Services Administrator. But there's also an Environmental Services Director, so.
Are we doing them both at once?
Both at once.
Oh. I thought we did it in, yes, both of them,
Okay.
thank you.
second. Any more discussion on either one of these? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
And then I would be looking for a motion to post internally.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we get a second,
I'll second it, then I'll ask that question, intern for what?
Internally.
Oh, okay,
to post internal.
then my second stands.
Okay,
What is our anticipated start date for the new positions?
When we get a. Greg, do you wanna answer that?
that today.
No, you don't have a job description. So I I'll officially would be, my last day will be August 20th.
So the positions will start there.
So they will officially begin after that.
Yes.
Right.
You're sure?
Yes. I'm sure.
I wrote it down, we're gonna hold it to you.
What's that?
I said, I wrote it down, we're gonna hold it to you.
Yeah, you can, no. I have my word.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Carry. We have a few minutes. Anybody have anything else?
Well, budget committee's meeting like this afternoon, now we're gonna meet with 4 departments to start going over budgets. I don't know which 4 it was.
I can help you out. It will be, the recorder, human resources, emergency management, and the VSO office. And then, we do have some meetings scheduled for next Tuesday, June 10th. I can't remember which. Okay.
That's
I don't
what
remember
I,
either.
Okay,
I can look, I
I can't
guess.
remember which ones on June 10th, and then the next one will be the next board meeting. No, not the next board meeting date. I think then we're looking at July 1st. And the idea is these are introductory meetings with each department head as an opportunity for the department head to ask questions of the Budget and Finance Committee, and the Budget and Finance Committee to ask questions, and just visit about budgets to make sure we all have a really good solid understanding on budgeting. And Chad Van Satten has done a really good job in putting together documents to be used for these meetings, kind of just highlighting, the general information like specific line item definitions, and just to kind of start the process and the exercise of discussing budgets as we move forward, to kind of get into the exercise of looking at them more than just once a year and make sure that things are, again, consistent across all. Obviously, there's kind of unique things to different departments, and not everything's going to be the same, but it's just the introductory to start working together and utilizing our Budget and Finance Committee. And so I'm very grateful to the department heads who are willing to come and take 30 minutes this first time. It's also important to note that at tomorrow's department head meeting, Chad's gonna give just kind of a general overview of the budget and what it means. Maybe it's mostly for my benefit as being new to the position, but getting a solid education and making sure everybody understands all the work that the auditor and treasurer's office do as far as budgets go. So I'm looking forward to good meetings to learn.
and to be clear, what time is that this afternoon?
The first one's at 1.
Good question, Tina. Do you anticipate these meetings being held with somewhat of the anticipation that we may have cuts in program aid or budget or funding? Or are you going kind of forward with the thought that it's business as usual, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I would take any direction about these meetings from the board. So the accountability would be to the board and what your expectations are for the Budget and Finance Committee. Right now, this first initial introductory meetings are just for educational purposes, and to get just used to the idea of meeting and discussing. A lot of work goes into the budget, so we want to make sure that for sure all of our department heads, if they have questions, they're getting answered, and there's just that that common thread of consistency if we can in areas that we can. Again, noting that some departments have unique situations, but it's really important for, department heads to understand the budget, but even more important to ensure our full board understands the budget, and everybody collectively is working off the same sheet of music, and that'll just help, moving forward if there's other discussions that the boards direct in the future.
The treasurer and the auditor next week.
Yeah, and so the members on the Budget and Finance Committee, is Troy and Bill representing the county board. So they can be your contacts for information, you know, if you have questions, of course, you can talk to department heads too. But again, looking at that strategy of utilizing our board committees, to bring forth that consistency. They're the two commissioners on that committee. And then, Chad is the auditor, Jamie as the treasurer, and then myself as the coordinator, make up the budget committee, and we'll be, you know, having these introductory kind of question and answer sessions with all the departments to start. And you will notice at the bottom of the agenda are the committees that are listed, like we talked about at the last meeting that the board directed to add, kind of itemized out. And so, you know, it is an opportunity to kind of make sure that everybody is aware of what two commissioners sit on those committees, and then provide, just a reminder that we remember to give updates on our official meetings.
We did have a CPT meeting yesterday too, and everything just running along. They had updates on the tax rewrite that we're in probably a decade into that. So they had stuff to demo, so it was getting close to functional.
Troy,
Yes,
did CPT have like a ballpark of when they thought they would maybe be implementing that tax rewrite?
so, you know, they're hoping when we get into, was it truth and taxation later this year, they're hoping to get more into it, and hopefully my understanding was hopefully next year, but we all know that can get pushed back again, right?
Right.
So that was kind of you know, they got, I think, 3 counties demoing, and they're hoping to have more on board by truth and taxation time, and then by next year having everyone.
Kind of get the rest of us. Mhm.
What was being said, right?
Okay, thanks.
Any personnel, Justin?
So this is follow-up to our session on Friday. If you checked your email, you all received the same email that I did, and I thank you for not replying to all, or at least leaving me off of that. I would like to provide the board an update. And again, the statute indicates that the public body shall close one or more meetings for preliminary consideration of allegation or charges against the individual. And of course, the individual has the right to have that meeting open. I did visit with Mr. Marshall, who's counsel for the employee. He does not wish for that to be open, does not object to the closed session. ultimately, it's up to you if you want to have the closed session or not. You know, unless there is a decision that is going to be made, but, you know, there is some updates and information that we have at this point.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting pursuant to what Justin listed.
13D subdivision 2, paren B.
Okay, we have a motion, we get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
So
Ashley, you have your,
I need to stop recording, correct?
yep, and Ashley will now record on her. I mean, if you want.
1 minute.
Well, we'll just, once we get done, we'll just, make the. We can continue to do that.
We'll open it back up.
We did, yeah.
That's good.
Okay, I don't know if the recording is not recording.
Okay,
You're gonna
at,
get.
at 10:10 we reopened the meeting.
So my understanding is that the personnel issue will be continued in the meeting today recessed until 2 o'clock on Thursday. To give the employee more time to visit with council.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else got anything? Do you have anything? Okay. You don't have anything? No. Well, we're done.
Oh, we're gonna talk about cleaning the courthouse and so,
Oh, yeah,
that, the bathrooms, so,
yeah, the cleaning for,
wasn't that our question here, for, we got bathrooms up there that need to be cleaned.
Well, due to the board being recessed until Thursday, between now and Thursday, what is the board direction for cleaning?
Well, my thoughts are we probably better get them cleaned. So, pretty important, I think we better see if somebody will clean them.
Do we wanna reach out to Heather? I mean, that's one we had a price and see if she would do on a weekly basis for now.
Seems reasonable to me.
So contact Heather Ulrich, who cleaned before, ask her to come and do one cleaning. Between now and Thursday, when the board reconvenes.
One be enough?
Well, we'll meet again in 2 days, we'll meet again. So I mean, if
That is
if
yeah.
it's not, at that point, we can redetermine
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah, see if she can probably come and clean them today. It's been a few days, so.
How about if water's running out the door? Like down here, there was a hot water heater that blew and they ended up, it didn't blow apart, but it must have dripped and things like that. So, I mean, there's gotta be a lot more than just the bathrooms. So
When did that happen?
it's on that schedule that we got the other day. And they worked for a day here to put a new hot water heater in this building. I mean, there's so many things that could go right.
So the board's direction right now is to contact Heather and get her to clean one time before Thursday when the board reconvenes. And then the direction of the board in the meantime for facility maintenance, who should be contacted? The coordinator, or do you have somebody else in mind?
Well, I would think the building committee probably.
Okay. So if they contact me, I will contact the building committee and we will make recommendations on what to do if anything should come up. Cause yesterday we had a few things come up, we got them taken care of.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like if we have a plumbing issue, we'd have to call the plumber, so I guess the building committee can be notified and
Okay.
get a hold of the plumber.
But who's gonna You know, in my opinion, it should be, if this is where we're headed, then the building committee go babysit this process, walk through these buildings and see that, make sure that there is something wrong. So you can get somebody coming. I've seen water running out of the doorways on some of these properties because nobody's babysitting them. I don't want that to happen to this or that courthouse.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is the building committee board representation in this, Troy and Bill will walk through the buildings, do an inspection until Thursday.
Daily.
So I think there's some, maybe the potential to walk through the building on a daily basis that's on the building committee. Could he probably do that?
What's that? What did you say?
There's somebody that potentially could walk through these buildings daily that's also on the building committee. Do you think we could have him do that?
But who would that be?
It could be Bill Valley. If you would, so be so kind to.
Oh, I have a utmost responsibility. Being I was part of the team that created revenue, you know, or lease revenue bonds to secure these buildings. I have an innate responsibility there. Cause if that was the case, the CD88 would be all over me.
Okay, so
Because
you,
somebody wasn't there in a position to be able to take care of something before it got out of hand. So yes,
you're, okay,
So that, we appreciate that, Bill. Thank you.
okay, and I will contact Heather. I will also send an email out to the department heads, so then they are aware of what the board has decided.
Anything else we need to discuss? We'll adjourn the meeting at,
Don't, you want to recess?
a recess until Thursday at 2 o'clock. Thursday, June 5th, 2 o'clock.